Hello, hello, hello. Sean Patrick here for Special Report Part 2. Now, I'm not as mad as I was, but I still didn't want to do the theme song because I thought, since using the hashtags I did, I might end up getting one or two of the people involved in that vulgar display of sour watching this. And I wanted to give them a chance to hear what I'm saying instead of just getting all in a tizzy about curse words. Now, on Wednesday, Deputy Premier and Health Minister Christine Elliott and President and CEO of Ontario Health, Matthew Anderson, held a press conference. They announced that if hospitals are truly overwhelmed, in extreme circumstances, patients that are in the hospital waiting for a bed in a long term care or retirement facility can be asked to move to another home that isn't their first choice temporarily. They will not have to pay for this, and they won't lose their place in line for their preference of homes. Now, this would only be done after consultation with doctors and family for patients that don't actually need full hospital care. And if things got really, really bad, they may just have to move some of these people. Now, only minutes later, there were headlines like Ontario to move patients from hospital to LTC without consent. That's almost as scary as Freedom Rally scheduled for your town. Unfortunately, only the first one is misleading. Then, on CBC News that night, Adrian Arsenault used the phrase, hospitals now can alleviate crowding by moving some patients to LTC homes, even without consent, if necessary. And this was used to lead into a report on how shitty the long-term care homes are, and no more actual discussion about this non-consensual rearranging. It's pathetic how the media justifies juicing the truth out for headlines that create fear for the clicks. Reading the article, you find it basically refutes the headline and gives you some of the info I just did. And those who just read the headlines end up mentioning it to someone like me who sets it straight, leaving them also feeling lied to. Now, these things lead to mistrust of the media, which is why I watch all of the addresses. And losing the trust in the mainstream media leads to the conspiracy theories and the bullshit we saw here last weekend. And speaking of last weekend, it turns out that, according to the Beacon Herald, a local man was responsible for bringing the Cirque de Malaise to my town. It wasn't just Derek, who do you really work for, Sloan, and Randy Heil Hillier. It was also Jason Cook. Again, according to the Beacon, in November, Cook had an MRI which showed that he had a nodule in his thyroid and was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. Apparently, further tests were cancelled due to COVID, and his neck has since fused, which he says is in part due to gyms being closed. Now, I get it. The overtaxed system during the worst worldwide epidemic in 100 years didn't have the ability to help him. Now, the smart thing to do would have been to start lobbying for the healthcare system and vaccinations in an effort to keep this from happening to anyone else. Instead, he wants to be part of the reason nobody can get proper care. This is one of the most selfish and irresponsible reactions I've ever seen. And what kind of neck workout needs a gym? Look, I've been in increasing pain and decreasing mobility for more than 20 years now. My fantastic stunts often actually hurt. I've undergone every test they can give me, but they still can't figure it out. Am I going to join a roving bunch of disease monkeys? No. Just because the system couldn't help me doesn't mean I have the right to try to make sure it can't help anyone else. So we've got some big news here. I have a prospective sponsor sniffing about, and since they, like my wife, haven't bothered to watch my show, they asked me to share how I create all this magic. Well, what I do is I watch and read news and talk to my correspondent until I'm basically ready to burst. Then, usually I sit down with my notes and lots of coffee and write a script. Yeah, really, write it. which I also often manage to get on screen with one take. Well, neither of those things happened last time. Now, without a script, my first two takes had some tasty bits that didn't end up in the final. So I would like to present to you Assault on Stratford Revisited. Remember that I was trying to tone it down a bit. Yeah, I'm not doing the theme song today because if I pick up my guitar, I'm gonna go totally fucking Hendrix on it. Yeah, I feel really bad for the poor child who ended up with brain damage because of this, but unfortunately, he's still likely gonna be smarter than his parents. Especially funny considering that Mayor Matheson went on about how, they want attention. If you go, you're just playing into their hands. Well, we can't play into their hands because their hands are busy spit roasting you right now, Matheson. The stay at home order, oh, it doesn't matter. Come on in. Yeah, like they couldn't set roadblocks around this town. It's very easy. There's a few choke points. Yeah, we are not going to affect any arrests as a result of the breaking of either the emergency order or the Reopening Ontario Act. We don't want to create conflict. Conflict already created. We don't want to cause people any more anxiety than they already have in this pandemic. But in the same token, there is the rule of law, and we will apply the law as judiciously as we. Oh, yeah, my writing's really hard. As as, as we feel is reasonable, I guess is a paraphrase slightly. I can't quite read that. While this sucks for all of us, most of us aren't throwing big parties. And there's a reason for that, because it's bloody dangerous right now. Nobody told you never. Nobody told you you're not allowed to talk to who you want to talk to. You can still do that. Look at this, the magic of technology. They just said no large groups and stop going around licking fucking doorknobs. But it doesn't matter. Not only are you doing it anyway, you are going to towns, bringing in people from outside the town, and throwing these shindigs, which are okay as long as, the organizer of it calls your mayor first. Then it doesn't matter. Then the police will show up and film your event for you. Wow. Upset that I don't get to have them? Yeah. Am I going to go to someone else's town and jump up and down screaming about it? No. Because it's not the government's fault. It's not anybody else's fault that there's a virus running about the place, killing people. There you have it. I wish I could say that that would be the last time we talk about these crusaders against public health, but they don't seem likely to wear a mask, stay the fuck away from each other, and watch everything. A lot.